machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine.
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Thursday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Thursday. It is Friday Junior, folks. The weekend is basically here. Welcome, everybody. Good for Gabby, welcome. Craftus, welcome. Craftus, thank you so much for that tier 1 sub. Moanep, welcome. I see the YouTube crew has arrived. Welcome, welcome. I've been called a right-winger undercover. I'm gonna go cry alone for a while. I've been called a right-winger undercover. That's pretty upsetting. Well, if it makes you feel any better, you have provided no reason to make me believe that you are an undercover right-winger. Thus far. All right, folks. Today we're gonna try to just kind of get through all of this quick. I gotta jump off stream. Moanep, welcome. Hey. Hi, welcome. Howdy, howdy. Folks, the usual disclaimer. If you enjoy the content, just move my little thing over here. If you enjoy the content and you want to support the channel, folks, there are many different ways of doing so. If you're on the YouTube, keep liking that stream, okay? Thank you guys so much. Keep liking the stream and encourage others to subscribe if you haven't done so. 261 of you have subscribed. That's pretty freaking good, I think. It's a good start. So I appreciate you guys doing that on YouTube. Spread the word. We're here Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Bring a friend, folks. Also, make sure that you're hitting that like button if you're on, or follow button if you're on the Twitch. 2,500 of you have already done so. Can you believe it? Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. That's 2,500 of you decided to actually press that button. Thank you. If you want to keep up with the channel, folks, the best way to do it is join the Discord. We do have events there where we have movie events. And, of course, the Substack is there as well. And that is completely free. If you want to support the channel directly, you can hit that merch store, or you can hit !tip to support the channel directly. All right, folks, let's get started because we got a lot of stuff to cover. Start with this, folks. That's right, boop it. Boop all the buttons. Okay? Just to be clear, we're also on other social media by the same name. You can find us on Blue Sky as well. I have yet to add the command for Blue Sky, but don't worry. Don't worry, I will. Maybe if I have time, I'll do it tonight. We are also on Blue Sky. So everything, by the way, is the same handle. Everything is at Difficult Truth. Bipedal Meatbag, welcome. We now have an insurrectionist in charge of the FBI. That's right. Kash Patel has been confirmed, which we will talk about. Yep.
country is moving very This country is moving very rapidly under Trump into an authoritarian form of society. You know, the founding fathers, way back in the 1770s, these were nobody's fools. And what they had fought the King of England, an autocrat, had all the power, and they said, you know what? We don't want that in the new country. We're going to set up 3 separate equal branches of government. And every kid in the 6th grade knows who they are. But Trump does not. And what Trump is doing now is trying every day to usurp the powers of Congress, to challenge the powers of the court. It is.
Well, I don't know how education is nowadays, but from my understanding, like civics has pretty much been done away with. I could be wrong, but from my understanding, civics has all but been done away with. I was fortunate enough to have civics as a class, but from my understanding, it's replaced with social studies. So I'm afraid that maybe Bernard's information here might be a little outdated. I could be wrong, of course, and maybe that's dependent on the state. The state's curriculum, I should say.
Very dangerous moment. The struggle against Trump, the struggle against oligarchy, which is led by Elon Musk, the struggle against authoritarianism, the fight to make sure that the working class of this country gets a fair shake. That is not going to be won here in Capitol Hill. It's going to be won by millions of people all over this country standing up and saying, you know what? We fought and died for democracy. We're not going to move toward authoritarianism. We fought to create a country that works for all, not just the billionaire class. That's the struggle, and I'm going to be active in trying to rally the American people to do just that.
My president.
You just listened to a snippet from Bernie Sanders' interview with Caitlin Collins on CNN, and I'm surprised that his comment right there isn't getting more attention, because not only is it alarming that another sitting U.S. senator is warning America that we are slipping into a dictatorship, but Bernie right there is specifically invoking the American Revolution in order to communicate to the American people that we're not going to be able to vote our way out of this situation.
Yeah, and like basically what he's saying is like we have to we have to perhaps understand the severity of the situation and how typically authoritarian regimes are handled, right? Because if there's fundamentally no checks and balances here, and our future prospects of elections are kind of dubious, then there's only really a limited amount of choices of paths that can be taken here.
And I don't think that people truly grasp the implications of that. For all of our lives, we've been conditioned to think that political change begins and ends with presidential elections, but we are past that point now.
I mean, like, yeah, so like normally, under normal, sane, rational circumstances, you want to build political power by, running for local elections, supporting progressive candidates through local elections, and trying to win from state to local to federal. The problem is we're not actually guaranteed that pathway. I'm not saying it's completely over. I'm saying that we know we don't have that guarantee. Does that make sense?
And Bernie Sanders is gently trying to explain to Americans that those days are dead and gone. Trump has repeatedly talked about seeking a third term, and judges like Allison Ide, who replaced Gorsuch on the 10th Circuit, are laying the groundwork to reinterpret the 22nd Amendment to let him run for a third term. I mean, the official White House Twitter tweeted out an image of Trump wearing a crown with the caption, "Long live the king."
Yeah, which is a quote from his personal social media. I mean, like, this is just like absurd, right? Like, this is absurd. Just to be clear, like, this shouldn't be taken as a joke, right? This shouldn't be taken as like a cute tongue-in-cheek kind of thing. This should be taken seriously. This should be taken as legitimate because it's the sitting president, right? President.
He just signed an unconstitutional executive order stripping away autonomy from executive agencies. And rather than reading you that entire wall of text, I just want to let the Trump administration give you the most concise explanation.
Lastly, we have another executive order that President Trump signed relating to independent agencies. This executive order would establish important oversight functions in the Office of Management and Budget and its subsidiary office, OIRA, supervising independent agencies and many of their actions, and also reestablishes the longstanding norm that only the President or the Attorney General can speak for the United States when stating an opinion as to what the law is.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works. That's not how that works at all.
That is not a long-standing norm, by the way. If only the president and the attorney general have the last say on what the law is, that's called a dictatorship.
Yeah, because, like, hello, we literally have an entire branch of government designed to test if a law, if the legislation passed by Congress actually is constitutional or not. It's called the judiciary.
And we are very clearly headed in that direction, and Trump is doing nothing to assuage our fears that that is indeed the case, because it's what he wants. And Bernie Sanders is warning you, if you want your country back, you're going to have to take to the streets and take it back. And he is desperately trying to get people to realize that this is where we're at. And he's not just saying that on TV. He is literally doing a tour across the country to explain to Americans that the only thing that can save the country at this point is a political revolution. Common Dreams reports Senator Sanders launched
Ladybug, welcome.
a national tour to fight the oligarchy, where he is hosting town halls with residents in districts that flipped from Biden to Trump in 2024. And the message is clear. Donald Trump is coming after you too. So he's going across the country trying to explain this to people. The policies that Trump is implementing right now, it's going to destroy their livelihoods.
God bless this man. My friggin' president. Read and Rap, welcome. Evening. You know, this is the kind of stuff that this is the kind of stuff that like all Democrats should be doing. It shouldn't be just Bernie Sanders out there by himself. It should be the entire opposition party, supposedly opposition party, should be going out there 24/7, okay, stressing the severity of what is happening here and trying to make people understand what exactly is at stake here. Because again, as I've been saying for a week now, maybe more, whatever, the last couple of streams, is that broadly speaking, I'm not convinced that the American people as a whole truly understand, right? Like, Bernie isn't a Democrat, why he's actually doing something unlike Hakeem Jeffries. Yep.
To, even though they voted for him. So he's trying to get them to mobilize to stop that and to take action before it's too late. And in a recent interview with Brian Tyler Cohen, Bernie Sanders also tried to make that case directly to Trump supporters, that now is the time to act because it's going to affect them too.
What I would say to Trump supporters are two things. Focus not on what Trump says, but what he does. And what he's going to do is cut programs that you and your families need. Do you really think it's appropriate to cut Medicaid substantially? Those are families, your families, may not be able to get the health care that they need. Your mother may not be able to get into the nursing home that she has to get into because Medicaid pays a substantial part of that. We're going to do away with aid to students who want to go to college. Your kids are going to have to go more deeply into debt when we cut back on higher educational programs. So the other thing that I would say is that if you are an honest conservative, you believe in the Constitution of the United States, you do not believe that the richest guy in the history, in modern history, can go around unilaterally cutting programs that were authorized by Congress. So if you're a Trump supporter and you're a working class person,
Yeah, like, just to be clear, like, the Republican Party, conservatism, is not really interested in dealing with the fundamental problem of how we got here to begin with, right? So it's like, you know, if you're finding yourself somehow agreeing with conservatism and you are of the working class, they hate you, okay? The only thing that Republicans care about is you voting for them. That's it. Conservatives don't care about your plight of how you're going to make rent. Conservatives don't care about depressed wages versus increasing costs of living. They don't care. They don't care about you. They don't care about your struggles. And they never will, because they're not interested in that. So have some class solidarity, okay? And realize that the left isn't your enemy.
Understand that they're going after you. And if you believe in the Constitution and democracy, they're also trying to undermine that.
Now, whether or not he'll actually get through to most Trump supporters is debatable, because we are dealing with a political cult.
Yeah. Also, like, if they also just understand that, like, conservatives and Republicans now fundamentally don't care about the Constitution, right? Like, they don't care about any of the Constitution as long it only serves as a it only serves as a prop, really. That's what it is. The moment that the Constitution becomes inconvenient for them, they'll toss it out. Because they don't actually care about the Constitution or the rule of law or whatever else they pretend to care about. They only care about one thing and one thing only, and that's power.
But that's why he's targeting specific districts where voters flipped from blue to red, because those aren't necessarily the diehard Trump cultists that we're talking about here. Those are people who simply don't know why things are so bad, but they get a sense that things are pretty fucking bad. And, you know, because they know that things are bad but don't know how to fix it, they go back and forth between Democrats and Republicans every single election cycle in hopes that one of the parties will finally do something to improve their lives. But it never happens. So they're in this endless cycle where, okay, well, the Democrat didn't do anything, I'll opt for the Republican. They're bad too. I guess we'll try the Democrats again. Now, this attempt by Bernie Sanders in going across the country is to raise class consciousness and get working people to understand that their enemies aren't each other. It is the oligarchy, right? And this attempt to raise class consciousness in working class people is the very first step to mobilizing a political revolution, which is what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, like, Bernie Sanders is just trying, like, this is the Hail Mary, folks. Like, when you have, like, politicians like Bernie Sanders literally getting out there and trying to, like, rally people together, like, that's it, folks. Like, this, not to be that guy, but, like, we're in the end game, folks. I don't know, MAGA people will follow Trump no matter what he says. Yeah, I mean, like, we're not talking about those people. Those people are lost. I'm not sure if there's even, like, a point to even trying to convince MAGA people. I'm not sure if it's even worth the energy. That former NFL kicker said it all and was arrested for it, unfortunately. Yeah, the guy was in Tennessee. I'm pretty sure. Republicans will never solve the border issue, just like Dems will never solve abortion. They need issues to fundraise on. Yeah, I mean, like, well, the abortion issue was kind of solved for them, right? It was taken away. So, yeah.
Because Bernie Sanders believes that if you can get regular working class people to see that the root causes to all of our problems cannot be solved with a top-down approach through our corrupt oligarchic political system, then maybe if people understand that, they'll finally opt to bypass that system altogether to actually accomplish systemic change from the bottom up. And to be clear, when Bernie Sanders talks about a political revolution, he's not talking about regime change or violence. He's talking about change enacted from the bottom up through different types of movements, right? A national movement that utilizes protests, civil disobedience, boycotts, work stoppages, and a national strike to shut down the economy until the change that they want is enacted. So the American people, what they can do is put so much pressure on elected officials that not even the harshest dictator can withstand it. And this has happened across the world, like we saw in the Arab Spring, where Tunisians ousted their brutal dictator Ben Ali. Like, it's not like dictators are immune to pressure. All of them are. It's just a matter of the people mobilizing and understanding that they do have all the power. They control the economy, and they can shut that motherfucker down if they choose to do that. Now, this whole political revolution was basically the crux of the message from Bernie Sanders' presidential campaigns. He made it clear that all of the things that he wanted to accomplish, like Medicare for All, for example, you can't do that through usual political procedures. There's just too much corruption to get members of Congress to do these types of things. I mean, Medicare for All, for example, I brought that one up. These politicians, they're in the pockets of health insurance giants who would happily bankroll them in a primary election against the pro-Medicare for All challenger. So they weren't afraid to lose their seats. They had the backing of the industry that helped them get elected, and that industry is going to help them keep those seats. So Bernie Sanders' approach was to bring his political movement to D.C., right? Get the people who elected him to target members of Congress who were refusing to implement the will of the American people. You target them aggressively with massive protests inside and outside of their offices. But in order to make that a reality, you first have to foster class solidarity among the people who are going to take to the streets, because if you don't do that, then they're going to fight each other and not the oligarchs. And during a 2016 debate against Hillary Clinton, Bernie Sanders explained why a political revolution was so necessary.
Brazil charged Bolsonaro with attempting a coup. Wish we had that kind of justice here. Yeah, I know. The person who inspired and actually did attempt a soft coup is actually the president. He's actually in power and nothing's happening. All the cases that have been brought up against him related to the election have all but died as of right now, and I'm not sure if those cases will ever be brought back to life. It is unclear if there will even be, let's say things, this is a big hypothetical, but let's say things operate under the normal circumstance and Trump leaves in 4 years. Will there be an appetite to bring those cases back? Because technically they can. But who's to say that's even going to happen? Because the Justice Department is the government itself is kind of broken at the moment. So you know what? I don't even know. That's probably just even wishful thinking. We can just say goodbye to any possibility of Trump seeing any kind of repercussion for any of this. And that's just wild in and of itself. I saw Missouri is now back to performing abortions. Nice.
We have
That's good. That's good to know.
today a campaign finance system which is corrupt, which is undermining American democracy, which allows Wall Street and billionaires to pour huge sums of money into the political process to elect the candidates of their choice. And aligned with a corrupt campaign finance system is a rigged economy. And that's an economy where ordinary Americans are working longer hours for lower wages. They're worried to death about the future of their kids. And yet they are seeing almost all new income and all new wealth going to the top 1%. And then in addition to that, the American people are looking around and they see a broken criminal justice system. They see more people in jail in the United States of America than any other country on earth. 2.2 million. We're spending $80 billion a year locking up fellow Americans. They see kids getting arrested for marijuana, getting a prison, getting a criminal record, while they see executives on Wall Street who pay billions of dollars in settlements and get no prosecution at all. No criminal records for them.
Yep.
I think what our campaign is indicating is that the American people are tired of establishment politics, tired of establishment economics.
Yeah, so
they
like
want a political revolution.
yeah, so I think that like this approach this approach is the winning approach here in a general election, right? Because like what Bernie Sanders is offering is not just different, like he's not just differentiating himself from Republicans, but he's also differentiating himself from the what we would call the establishment status quo, like Democratic Party as well, which people were not happy with. And I believe that would have been the winning ticket should he if he was allowed to go on to the general election. I think that was the winning ticket. You hear about Mitch McConnell not running for re-election? Yep, we got that queued up. Mitch McConnell, I think he did everything that he needed to do, right? Like he was instrumental as far as like cementing the judiciary to bring about what's happening as well. So his job is done.
In which millions of Americans stand up, come together, not let the Trumps of the world divide us, and say, you know what, in this great country, we need a government that represents all of us, not just a handful of wealthy campaign contributors.
And that message right there was potent because embedded in it was this admission that the establishment politics that we've come to expect just aren't going to suffice. The country is too far gone. Things have gotten too bad. The country is just too corrupt. And if we've learned anything over the last decade, is that Democrats very clearly aren't up to the challenge of fighting fascism. So we shouldn't wait around and expect one Democrat to come along and save us. That's not realistic at all. And I don't think that Bernie's goal is to get people to abandon electoralism. What he's trying to do is get them to understand that extraordinary times calls for extraordinary measures, and you can't just rely on electoralism to accomplish the change that you want. And that's more true today than it was when he said it back in 2016, because as unresponsive as our government was back then, it's even less responsive today, to the point where Congress, they don't even have control. There's virtually no oversight over the executive branch. And worse, they seemingly don't even have oversight over an unelected billionaire pseudo agency. And Bernie Sanders explained this in his interview with Caitlin Collins.
Yeah, this is not the same as 2016, right? Like, this is not the same as the first Trump term, right? We're dealing with a completely different monster here. And people need to wake up to that. Like, this is not Trump 2.0. Oh, he's just going to be like the Trump from 2016. No. No, he's not.
Elon Musk is clearly running the show, the wealthiest person in the world, who has enormous conflicts of interests, who is helping to fund right-wing extremist organizations all over the world, who is looking forward to get massive tax breaks from Congress. He's running the show.
So if he's if he's running the show, but not on paper, as they essentially argue, but you say in practice, he basically is, you're a co-equal branch of government as a senator on Capitol Hill.
I kind of thought so, but I think you have to explain that to the president.
Do you feel that you have oversight when it comes to what Elon Musk is doing?
Nope. Nope. And like that's the problem. Like, people really need to understand what's happening here. There is fundamentally no oversight. It's there's no congressional oversight being done. The judiciary isn't being respected. There are no co-equal branches of government right now. Yeah, calm down. It's just a coup. Jesus Christ. I love how he pronounced right as white wing. I mean.
In case you missed it, he said, of course not, which is alarming. This is why he's trying to emphatically explain to people that Americans have to take a bottom-up approach to politics in order to enact change, because there's just no going back to the way that things were. There's not even a going back to 2016. I mean, after seeing how much power Elon Musk has, other billionaires are going to be throwing even more money at both parties to be able to do what he's doing now. Pandora's box has
exactly. That's the problem. I mean, like, it's not 2016. Like, you know, we're gonna be like, at this point, like, we're reminiscing, okay, of how 2016 was, and how, like, more or less, like, the chaos was kind of like limited, right? Like, there was a lot of bad stuff that happened in the 2016 administration, but like, now we're like fondly reminiscing as like as a better time than like the nightmare dystopia that we're like being presented right now.
Been opened, and it's never going to be closed. The only way going forward to enact fundamental change is through a political revolution, because you can't expect a system as corrupt as ours to be the very vehicle that will enact the meaningful change that we need at this point. But the question is, how do you actually get people to become class conscious? Because people are selfish by nature, and they don't care about anything but themselves. And Americans apparently don't even give a shit about democracy, as evidenced by the fact that they voted to elect Donald Trump when he was very clearly a threat to democracy.
Yeah, I mean, like, you can try to appeal to people's self-interest, because it is indeed very much in your self-interest to have a functioning government that does things that a government is supposed to do. But I don't know if they'll see it that way. Yeah, tank the economy. Faux Machina, welcome. Yeah, you know those wonderful fond memories, you know, when we had George W. Bush, you know, as president. Ah, yes. The better times.
So, you know, these warnings aren't going to resonate with them. If I say that Trump wants to be a dictator, they don't give a shit. So what do? You have to make it personal. And that's what Bernie Sanders is trying to do. You tie Trump's authoritarianism to their wallets. You explain why Trump is consolidating all of this power and letting Elon Musk hollow out government agencies. He's doing this because he wants to do himself what Congress has always been too afraid to do. Privatize Social Security, cut Medicaid, do things that are incredibly unpopular. That's just one of the many examples. Now, Bernie Sanders explained this game that Republicans play.
And it's Medicare, folks. It's coming, okay? It's coming. Those cuts to Medicare is they're definitely going to try. they're trying to put requirements for Medicare, which would invariably, inevitably, I don't know, whatever, which would kick people off Medicare just by putting a work requirement. Is enough to kick millions off of Medicaid. Yeah, I don't need Medicare. I don't need Medicaid. It's just congestive heart failure. Yeah, nothing big, you know.
That is ultimately going to result in the death of Social Security. Now, that's one of many examples. He also talks about Medicaid as well. But with regard to Social Security, he's trying to explain to Trump supporters who also rely on Social Security that if they don't act now, that their Social Security is at risk as well.
We're hearing this line from the White House that tens of millions of people are getting Social Security fraudulently. Either they're dead or...
Yeah, I don't believe that for a second. And
Yeah, which is obviously nonsense, because like what they want to do is cut those people off, right? By like, oh look, we found fraud, and like, you know, obviously like that's not what's happening here. That means that tens of millions of people that are supposed to be getting benefits, who are very much alive, are not going to get benefits. And just to be clear, the reason why, okay, will be Donald Trump. The reason why will be because an oligarch was allowed unfettered access to systems that he has no clue about, and is creating these problems.
We've gotten no evidence of it, but I looked into this, and what we do know is that there's a lot of people that still remain in the database, but as far as people who are actually getting payments, it was 44,000 who got payments according to an audit that was done in 2023.
out of how many millions?
There's tens of millions. So when they say tens of millions, that would be
this is
a third
what
of people
we are
who on
dealing
Social
with.
Security.
We're not only dealing with oligarchy, the incredible power of the very, very rich. We're not only dealing with a move toward authoritarianism, we're dealing with what is new to America. You know, politicians have always lied, nothing new about that. But the level that we're seeing right now, the big lie, over and over again, and it goes out, there's a big lie, and then it goes out on Musk's Twitter to, several hundred million people, repeated over and over again. And now the word is out there, oh, people on Social Security, 150 years of age. Can you believe it? The whole thing is corrupt. It's broken. Well, where does that lead you, Caitlin? What's the next step? If government can't do anything, if Social Security doesn't work, if Medicare doesn't work, if Medicaid doesn't work, we're going to get rid of all of those programs, and we're going to give it over to the billionaire class to run it.
That's what you think they're ultimately trying to do.
Yeah, at the end of the day,
get rid of
not only do
Social Security.
they want massive cuts to programs for the working class in this country in order to give tax breaks to the very rich, and then they want to move to the privatization of every important government agency. I'm not saying they're going to go after Social Security tomorrow. They're not. But this is the groundwork. I mean, this is what you do. You destroy the credibility of programs that are complicated, programs that have tens of millions of people. This is the welfare queen again. Look at this person. They got this, they got that. Kill the whole program.
Winter has arrived in Gaza. The nights are cold, and thousands of children have nothing to protect them from the harsh winter. But we're here to help. No
So
child
freaking
should face
sad.
And everything that he's saying
Cognizant,
there,
welcome. Everything they do is continuing the message, F off and die, you boors. It's so obvious. I wish more so-called conservatives would see it. Oh, I mean, like, as far as, like, the regular, like, normal people, I wish so. I wish. Punk Rock Octopus, you're still streaming while I do my nails. I'll watch this. Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
applies to every other issue. I mean, think about it. They say that schools are too woke and they're teaching your kids CRT and turning them trans and making them gay. So the solution, of course, is to push for private schools instead of public schools. The VA is too slow and unresponsive to veterans after we defunded it. Let's give the veterans vouchers to get healthcare at private facilities. You know, our regulatory agencies for airline travel, they've just fallen to DEI, so we've got to outsource governance to SpaceX. I mean, our entire government has devolved into one giant welfare program for large multinational corporations at this point. And the first step to getting people to go along with the privatization scheme is to make them lose faith in the program. And that's currently underway right now with regard to Social Security, which is why Bernie Sanders is sounding the alarm, because this is
right. Because like you can tell like people like, oh, look, Social Security is so freaking corrupt, man. They're literally giving like 150-year-old dead people money, right? So like maybe the government isn't fit to run Social Security, but I've got a solution. Why don't you come over and let X payment, X Venmo, take care of the Social Security payments? We'll be good to go. They're also turning the frogs gay, if I remember correctly. True.
an issue that will bring over Trump supporters. Now, as Newsweek reports, the former Social Security Administrator Martin O'Malley is also raising the alarm about Doge, saying at this rate, they will break it. And they will break it fast, and there will be an interruption to benefits. And that is going to hurt people. Now, in a reasonable country, the people whose Social Security check was delayed would be pissed off at the people in charge because of that delayed payment. But the problem is that the Trump administration will use that as further evidence that privatization is the only way to save Social Security, since our government is too corrupt and too incompetent to handle it themselves. And you would think that, well, since he's in charge, he obviously is culpable for anything that happens to Social Security. But the problem is that a large portion of Americans on Social Security are going to believe that lie because they tune into networks like Fox News that tell them that lie.
Yeah, I mean, like this is like a like multi-front kind of assault, right? Because like they're doing this pretty brazenly, but the way like the propaganda machine is turning to make people like actually believe the things that are harmful to them are actually good is just like wild. Echo Rested Dragon, welcome. Moscow Mitch isn't running again, and Kash Patel is in for the FBI. 2 senators voted against Patel for Republicans. Wow. I did see your article about Mitch McConnell, so I took that one. I put it there on the queue. But yeah, we'll be talking about it.
Because the right-wing ecosystem can easily flip the truth on its head and get them to think that the opposite of what's true is actually happening.
Right, because like when it comes to like conservatism, like you really like truth is not like truth is actually bad. Right? Like truth is actually detrimental, so like we don't really want to talk about that. For conservatives, it's just like, you know, keep them like outraged about something. About something, usually minorities and people that they can otherize, say trans people or say immigrants. These crazy left-wing people, right, who are destroying the country or whatever. That's who you need to be outraged. But don't worry, we'll take care of you, you know. Sure, your Social Security, you know, is being completely destroyed. Sure, like millions of people are being threatened to get to be kicked off Medicaid. You know, sure, vital government operations are being like completely thrown into chaos, including, and this is true, our nuclear program. But you know, hey, whatever, like. Here's like the next outrage about like a trans person or something. Senator Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski were the ones who voted against confirmation. You know, that tracks.
And, you know, I played this clip in yesterday's video, but it's worth watching one more time because I think that this Fox News host perfectly summarized how their media misinformation machine works.
Yeah, this is probably Jesse Waters. Jesse Waters actually succinctly summarizes how the right-wing pipeline works, how the alt-right pipeline that we used to refer to back in the day, how the alt-right pipeline works. I think that's this clip because I kind of see his little suit here, but I'm pretty sure this is Jesse Waters.
Dana, we are waging a 21st century information warfare campaign against the left, and they are using tactics from the 1990s. They are holding tiny press conferences, tiny little rallies. They're screaming into the ether on MSNBC. This is what you call top-down command and control. You get your talking points.
Yeah, I don't know about top-down command and control, but like the point being is that He's freaking right, man. I'm sorry. So far, there's 0 lies detected.
From a newspaper, and you put it on the broadcast network, and then it disappears. What you're seeing on the right is asymmetrical. It's like grassroots guerrilla warfare. Someone says something on social media, Musk retweets it, Rogan podcasts it, Fox broadcasts it, and by the time it reaches everybody, millions of people have seen it.
Yeah.
It's free money.
And that right there is what Bernie Sanders was referring to.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's exactly how it works. Like, you know, they don't even need to tell you, right? Like, they don't even need to hide anything anymore, because it's check, man. I don't know about checkmate, but it's check. Like, the right wing, like, technocratic fascist ghouls have, like, put this country in check, and it's up to us to kind of figure this out. But Jesse Waters is 1,000% correct as to how the right-wing propaganda machine works. About how the right-wing propaganda works. They are incredibly understanding of how the media sphere works, right? He perfectly describes it. You know, some rando Nazi starts tweeting about something that gets retweeted by the Nazi reply guy, Sieg Heiling Elon Musk, who then gets talked about on, like, the massive podcast that is Joe Rogan, and, like, then it gets talked about in, like, regular legacy media on Fox by people like Jesse Waters, who that's their job. Yeah, the left is both soft snowflakes and dangerous criminals at the same time. Globus, welcome. Folks, shout out to Globus. Go check him out.
So people are voting against their own self-interest, thinking that they're doing what's best for them. So you have to find a way to get people to wake up. But I mean, it's truly an uphill battle. But you have to plant those seeds, because once people become aware of the game that's being played every single time, it's not new, it is more difficult to unsee it, although regression is a possibility, as we've all learned. But that's why it's more important than ever to do what we can right now to build class solidarity, because it's a lot harder to divide and conquer us if people understand that we are fighting a class war. So Bernie Sanders' solution to all of this is a political revolution to effectively get people to become privy to the class war that's being waged against them and to finally stand up and fight back. Now, I think that Bernie Sanders is right. I actually don't see how the typical political process is going to help us. I think that that really is the only way to actually improve things, at least when it comes to systemic change. You're not going to get money out of politics through the system that is awash with money. So, you know, we have to come to terms with that fact, but we also have to reckon with the possibility that it might be too late to save our country. Sure, political revolution in theory is something that has a very good chance of succeeding if enough people actually do take to the streets, but it might not. The harsh reality is that there just may be no going back to the way that things were after this. And I don't want to seem overly cynical and get you two down, but it's possible that this is a one-way street and we can't reverse at this point. With that being said, if we are going to salvage what's left of this country, I agree that Bernie Sanders has offered us the only way to do it, which is through political.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, like, there's only really two options, right? Right. Like, either we keep like the dictatorship solidifies and becomes a true dictatorship, or what we would call a hard dictatorship instead of a soft dictatorship that we're experiencing right now. And that's it. GG. Until question mark. Or the other option is, again, there are more pitchforks than peasants in this country. The right is not going to get the point until they start seeing rivers of their own blood in the streets. It's truly tragic. Yeah, I mean, I think that, like Mike says, that, you know, that might end up being the case.
Revolution at this point. And I think that if things do get bad enough to where people's livelihoods are completely destroyed,
just make sure that, like, you know, find like-minded people. Okay, even in like red places. even in red places. Okay. There are like-minded people. And I would encourage you to try to find some like-minded people because we protect us. Okay? I don't want to be forced to wear a dress.
And once the bread and circus no longer keeps the masses distracted, I do think that they will be pissed off enough to take to the streets. I mean, if people aren't getting their Social Security checks and the money isn't coming in and they're not able to feed themselves.
Yeah, and perhaps, for example, like, I think somebody pointed this out not yesterday, the day before, I don't know, recently, about like potentially the tax refunds being delayed because of how just chaotic things are, and it's true. So I mean, like, what are we gonna do about it, right? Because again, for those of you that are not left wing, to be clear, this is Trump's fault. Okay? Trump's the one that's allowing all of this. What are you going to do about it? When your tax refund is delayed by months, when you depend on that money, that's you. You voted for that. What are you going to do about it? They also fired like 15K IRS agents. Yep.
They will take to the streets. I mean, material deprivation is what catalyzes political revolutions and straight up revolutions in the first place in other countries. I mean, so it's possible. Either way, we're going to find out soon whether or not the American people actually do stand up to take their country back, won't we?
File your tax return now. What's actually better? Like, to file it early or to wait? Now? I gotta check to see if my last document has come in. But yeah, I guess the earlier the better, right? Because if it does get delayed, so be it. I file mine and 3 weeks later a big fat return gets direct deposited. Yeah, I suppose earlier is better, yeah.
Rick Perlstein, historian, we've had him on the show, posted this. It's just something that we need to be keeping in mind here because there was another airplane disaster like right after we went on air yesterday, and it's unclear if the cuts affected this. You know, and I don't want to draw any conclusions, but at the end of the day, like,
I mean, like, what you can say, and I'm kind of jumping the shark here, but what you can say is that, like, these things have been a problem for a while now, and, like, just taking a sledgehammer to all of government, including things like the federal aviation safety, is just going to exacerbate this problem to the point where, like, I'm sorry, but, like, I don't feel comfortable flying at this moment, right? Like, it's not inspiring a whole lot of confidence when you have, like, the most incompetent people just blindly taking a sledgehammer to things that they don't understand, and firing people that are incredibly crucial. Thing is, getting a big return means they kept your money and returned it with no interest, and hello everyone. Welcome. Honestly, not your average white guy. Honestly, getting any return is probably better than owing the government money, because like that's when it sucks. When you when you have to pay. But I mean, if I get anything back, or if I get like, it doesn't matter as long as I don't have to like pay, then I'm good. But yeah. As long as it funds my free healthcare, I don't care. Oh, that's right, you're Canadian. Carry on.
We need to start to politicize airplanes falling out in the sky. Like, we should be having a grandstanding bill on the House floor brought by some Democrat that uses the name of one of the federal workers that has been fired. We just read this example of the 20.
But like, you know what? How come only the right wing gets to do this, right? They should be talking about aviation safety and how it could potentially get worse when the government is being ransacked in the manner that it is. I mean, like, they should be talking about how things can get worse. The only reason I get a refund is earned income credit. Thank you for the follow. Welcome, Maywormy.
Year disabled Army veteran who was fired from his job at a Bronx veterans hospital. He has 4 kids and has served his country admirably and for his entire life. Wrote to the VA secretary asking for his job back, saying, I'm a good performer, isn't getting it back. His name is Luke Graziani. Frankly, the Democrats should endorse the Luke Graziani bill, which protects the federal workforce from the gutting of the administrative state by a billionaire robber baron. They should also be introducing a bill that's like about, say, the Trump airplane crash bill, Doge airplane crash. I mean, I'm coming up with this off the top of my head. Come up with something more clever, but message this to the public, okay? We can't just have historians like Rick or shows like ours giving these examples. The Democrats have to demonstrate this on the House or the Senate floor whenever debate is open and put names to this, like the Laken Riley Act, which they used to crack down on immigration.
Right, like, it's not fair that we're fighting here with, like, one hand. Rick Sanchez. Bernie Sanders is live on the Senate floor. You can send me a link. We can check in. Send it to me by Whispers, Maywormy. Just so it's clear, what we've done for better or for worse is put global hegemony on the table. Yeah, I mean, like, no doubt about it. Just to be, yeah, like, no doubt about it on that, on that topic. Like, I don't think, like, I don't think the United States will ever be the same, right? Because, like, who's going to trust us, right? Like, we're literally the reserve currency of the world, and, like, we're screwing with things that affect the entire planet. Like, why would anybody want to do business with us after all of this is said and done, right? Because certainly I wouldn't trust the United States if I was another country. So yeah, I mean, like, even if everything kind of turns out okay, even if things turn out more or less like okay domestically, like, this country will never be the same. Every USAID we pull, China fills. Exactly. Correct. Correct.
The reason that Amazon is
Oh, wait, I think I found it. I think I found it.
a dictator. And that obviously is not true either. Zelensky won 75% of the vote in free elections, and in the midst of a brutal war, Ukraine's parliament continues to function and open and unfettered political debate takes place.
Maywormy, no problem. Thank
Trump
you.
recently claimed that our European allies have done little to support Ukraine in its fight against Putin's invasion.
Use this thing.
He said the U.S. has contributed 3 times more than Europe. But that is another lie. In fact, Europe has provided more aid to Ukraine than the United States. But it's not just that Trump is lying again. That is not new. It's what this all reveals about where we want to take our country and where we want the world to be moving, what direction. Trump is cozying up to Vladimir Putin. So who is Putin? And what kind of world does Putin want to build? Putin is a dictator who crushed Russia's movement toward democracy after the end of the Cold War. Russia now holds sham elections where Putin wins 90% of the vote, and authorities there do not even try to hide their ballot stuffing. There is no freedom of speech or free media in Putin's Russia. Protests are violently suppressed. Tens of thousands of people are in prison for protesting Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
Hey,
Political
Maywormy,
dissidents
thank
are
you so
harassed
much
or
for
thrown
the Tier
into
1
jail.
sub and the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate the support.
Outright. Hundreds of thousands of Russians have fled Putin's
I want a Bernie
Russia
plushie.
since his invasion of Ukraine. That, Mr. President, is the Russian leader that Donald Trump admires. But, Mr. President, my Republican colleagues know all of this. And what is particularly disturbing to me, and I believe the American people, is my colleagues, my Republican colleagues, understand and know that Trump is lying. They know that Russia started the war, not Ukraine. They know that Putin is a dictator, not Zelensky. But their silence has been overwhelming on this issue. I cannot tell you how many times I have sat here on the floor
Bernard is the GOAT.
and I have listened to my Republican colleagues come to the Senate to condemn Vladimir Putin and his brutal invasion of Ukraine. And many of their remarks were right on the money, they were perceptive, and they were right. And my simple question to my Republican
A Bernie plushie of him in the
colleagues
winter coat and mask.
right now is, where are you now? Last I heard, Mr. President, this is still a democracy.
Supposedly.
Last I heard, we are still allowed to disagree
For
with
now.
the President of the United States,
For now.
even if he is a member of your own party. Last I heard, we are allowed to call out the President when he lies, blatantly lies, even if he is a member of our own party.
For now.
And what really bothers me is I know that many of my Republican colleagues understand all of this. And I just want to give you an example of what is going on right now. Let me just quote a few of my Republican colleagues in statements they have made since Putin's invasion of Ukraine. These are Republican members of the United States Senate. And I'm not going to mention names right now. Don't want to embarrass anybody.
I don't know. I think you should.
But these are quotes. One leading Republican said, quote, We must remember that the instigator of this war was Russia. It was President Putin who launched an unprovoked attack on Ukraine, end of quote. And that Republican colleague was obviously right. Another Republican said, I quote, I think Vladimir Putin started the war.
Bernie lost all credibility after RFK hearing. No, he didn't. The fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? I love his sarcasm. Me too. A Bernie winner plushie. I have to draw that when my nails dry. Yes, hit that like button to boost the channel. Exactly. So life, welcome. Bro really could have put America more in line with Europe, but now I wouldn't be surprised if our next conflict is with Europe.
I also believe, through bitter experience, that Vladimir Putin is a gangster. That's a Republican colleague. A third Republican colleague said, quote, there is no equivalency between Vladimir Putin and President Zelensky. President Putin is evil and he has to be stopped, end quote. Fourth Republican, and this is just a few of the quotes. I could probably come up with dozens of quotes. Fourth Republican said, when the war began, quote, today's invasion of Ukraine by Russia is a premeditated and flagrant act of war.
I really think he's the one who supports the science. Nah, RFK can go fuck himself and so can you.
Putin has violated the border.
Like, I'm sorry, I just don't have the freaking patience. Like, I just don't have the patience for this nonsense. I really don't, because, like, this isn't up for debate, okay? Like, the stuff that RFK Jr. has said that is on video, okay? Like, I'm not going to sit here and be gaslit and be told that, like, what I saw, okay? That what I saw from RFK Jr. didn't happen. Because I literally saw videos of him saying the things that he's said before. So, yeah. What is happening now is not a drill. Yep. RFK can't label a plant cell boy, has nothing to say. Yeah, like, first of all, like, he has no qualifications with regards to healthcare or medicine. And the experience that he has been disastrous. It's so easy to tell the trolls, and they're just basics you can't disagree with, my dude. I don't blame you for not having patience. Yeah, like, look, I'm not sitting here and fighting with, like, flat earthers, right? Like, if you come in here and just want to talk about how, like, up is down and right is left, war is peace, freedom is slavery, like, I just don't have time for this, okay? RFK Jr. is a lunatic, okay? Is a lunatic. Also, thank you so much for the hype train that actually made it to level 2. Thank you so much. May Wormy leading that hype train. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of a sovereign country. And that senator later said, anyone who is surprised by Putin's deadly attack on a sovereign nation has not been paying attention. These are
and I also, just to be clear, I also saw the interactions between Bernie Sanders and RFK Jr., right? Like, the immediate, like, this is how you know, like, these people are, like, either dishonest or didn't watch the exchange between, excuse me, the exchange between RFK Jr. and Bernie Sanders. Like, the moment that RFK Jr. couldn't really, like, refused, not that he couldn't, he refused to answer whether or not healthcare is a human right, disqualified immediately.
Are the actions of a madman, end of quote. And just recently, that very same senator said, quote, Putin is not going to stop with Ukraine. If we abandon Ukraine and throw in the towel, as some would like us to do, that is going to drastically change how people view the United States and how people rely on the United States, and there will be major consequences, end of quote. And a fifth Republican colleague here in the Senate called Putin a quote-unquote thug and compared him to Hitler. He said, quote, Vladimir Putin is not a legitimate leader. He is a war criminal that needs to be dealt with. End of quote. That is what my Republican colleagues have said time and time again. And the question is now, do you have the courage?
Nope. Like, here's the thing I will say. Like, listen, Bernard, my brother in Christ, okay? Bernard Sanders, listen to me. You cannot hypocrisy shame these people, okay? They don't care. Like, tomorrow they'll say, like, the sky is green, okay? Even after being on record saying that they acknowledge that the sky is blue. You can't shame them.
This is the moment. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.
Mr. President,
Chair recognizes the senator from Oregon.
families lose, billionaires win. That is the proposition at the heart of the Republican budget resolution.
True.
Now, this plan is going to be explored tonight through a series of amendments. And as the American people watch how we vote on this amendment.
Yeah. Yeah, the American people, unfortunately, are not paying attention. So just to give you a breakdown, that opening statement by that senator is true. Like the whole like budget bill or whatever, that's really a large transfer of wealth from the working class to the rich, right? Like that's how this works. The way they're going to plan for this or pay for this is by cutting crucial programs. Okay? That's how they're going to do this. They're going to cut crucial programs like Social Security, like Medicaid, to pay for billionaires' tax cuts, right? They're not saving money. They're just moving it to pay for the hole that these billionaire tax cuts are creating. So no, you're not saving taxpayer money. You're just moving it from one place to the other.
To your advantage. Bradley, go ahead.
I'm just saying they're always happy to brand something. They definitely have staffers who are literally hired to create these funny abbreviations for bills where it's like a New Jersey congressman like Josh Gottheimer, Jersey, would be like, the Mooch Act to get other states to pay more in federal income taxes because New Jersey pays more for other lower end tax states in the country. Like you can't do it for something like this when they're literally like it's not even like the sky is falling. No, planes are literally falling out of the sky.
Falling out, and
that plane was upside down in Toronto.
Yes, and there were already a shortage of air traffic controllers.
Yep.
Then yesterday, Musk and Trump fired tens of probationary employees working in aviation safety.
Yeah, which is incredibly important. We actually went over this story. Like, yeah, this is not going to help that situation. It's the end of an empire, but it's okay. The royalty never wanted to live here. Yeah, and the royalty here are like infinitely rich, right? Like it is they're inconceivably rich, right? Like we see the numbers, right? Like we see the numbers. Oh, Jeff Bezos is like 200 and something billion dollars, right? The same with like Mark Zuckerberg. Elon Musk is like 400 and something billion. Like we see that, but like understand that is an unfathomable amount of money, right? Like there is literally no way to spend that money, okay? By that one person or that one family, right? If this all goes down, okay, they have all the resources they need to peace out or to not deal with it or to insulate themselves. So they think. I took a look at the claims that no safety jobs were cut. Bro, they literally got rid of safety maintenance crews. Correct. And then like when pressed about like, oh, do you think that like maybe, I don't know, like radar people and land safety landing people are like critical to aviation safety? They're like, oh, well, we're going to have to look into that to see if that actually falls into that. Bro. Also, fun fact, I checked up on it as well. If you tax the top 10 wealthiest people by 99.9%, they would still be in the top 1% of the world. It's kind of insane. Yeah, it is. It is. It's a disease of greed. It's a sickness of greed, and it just, like, society just can't. We just can't have this, right? Like, we just can't have this obscene level of wealth being given to a handful of people. It's just obscene, and it is destroying the fabric of society. For context, the universe is only 12 billion years old. Yep. I checked it because I didn't believe it, and seeing that really effed with me. Sorry for the language. No, you're good. The only person that needs to limit the curse words is me. But it'll trickle down, right? Yeah, it will. Tomorrow. Don't worry,
Again,
folks.
these are just employees that have worked there for 2 years or under, or switched agencies who have less protections, so Musk can fire them if he wants. Still going to affect it. They're doing important work to aid and assist the air traffic controllers who are already understaffed. So Rick Perlstein has this example. This is from a friend of his who's a retired air traffic controller. This is the letter that he wrote today to his the other day to his senator. I wanted to read it for folks. Dear Senator, I'm writing as a constituent, former FAA air traffic controller for 26 years and currently airline transport-related commercial pilot. On Friday, hundreds of FAA technicians and engineers were terminated. These technicians and engineers maintain every piece of equipment that keeps flying safe, from the radars to the ILS to the ATC automation. They were identified as probationary, and there is a reasonable speculation that AI was used to find probationary employees, assuming that meant
it acts like a economic blood clot, actually. Yeah. And once it gets too big, it's actually kind of fatal. Like, if you don't address that, that's actually fatal, which, yeah.
That they were new hires. That is not an accurate assumption. A newly hired federal employee is probationary and may be subject to at-will termination, but the term probationary is also applied to promotions to describe not that you are a probationary employee, but if the promotion or transfer is not successful, the employee would return to the pre-promotion position. This allows the government to retain needed expertise. As I mentioned, those were the examples of people who became probationary because they moved from, like, one park or to another, or from one agency to another, etc. This allows the government to, However, even that is not the case in these positions, as workers were indeed succeeding in their new roles. FAA technicians undergo years of specialized training to maintain mission-critical systems that cannot be replaced quickly. In the 30 years since I began my controller career, we have never had a surplus of technicians and engineers. To the contrary, it is a challenge to keep these jobs filled.
What's wrong with these burger buns? They taste perfectly delicious, but due to a production mishap, their bottoms are slightly curved instead of flat. Traditional grocery stores.
Once our aviation safety.
Why are they trying to sell me burger buns? I swear, I get the most randomest ads. Like, it's actually kind of like par for the course of this channel to just kind of like dunk on the random ads that we get. But burgers? Burger bun? Yeah, burger bun politics. Okay.
Safety infrastructure is compromised. It will take decades to bring it back. Money will not be saved and lives may be lost. We need your help to raise attention to this issue and use whatever tools of checks and balances available to undo this reckless action. Sincerely, Dylan Sullivan, who's the name of the friend of Rick Perlstein. We now know that Musk is trying to put SpaceX employees in these positions who do not have the qualifications. We just had the deadliest federal aviation disaster since 9/11 on U.S. soil, where
why do we have the FAA? They just crash planes, right? Give it to SpaceX instead.
67 people.
We should just contract this out to SpaceX. Incidentally, also, like, that just happens to give me a bunch of billions of dollars more.
Were killed at Reagan, like in the days after they announced these massive cuts, sending our systems of regulations into chaos. We know that it's less safe to fly, and the flight attendants union will say this. during government shutdowns for these very reasons. But it was put on
Why would Joe Biden do this?
steroids with these Doge cuts that came in. And then what do you know? A plane going into Reagan National Airport crashes with a military helicopter, and dozens of people die.
Because of an air traffic mistake, but from what the appearances of it looks like so far.
And where are the Democrats? Everybody has a fear of flying. If the Republicans can tap into a fear of needles so that we don't have vaccines anymore, so it pretends like they care about our health as opposed to, funding universal health care or something like this, can the Democrats weaponize the fact that...
Nope. Yeah, I wouldn't get on a plane. Yeah, you couldn't pay me enough money to get on a plane at this point. Like, I'm sorry. Like, folks, get familiar with, like, train routes and distances and time and stations. But, like, personally... yeah, I don't know about this whole flying thing. I think I'm gonna pass on that for the foreseeable future, anyways.
Everybody in the world has a fear of flying, and Republicans might make it more likely that you die in the air. I mean,
yeah.
Introduce a bill. Trump's aviation death bill. Whatever. Make up some silly acronym. Or they could spend $6 million on consultants to come up with MAGA, what was it? Ultra MAGA?
Extreme MAGA Republicans.
Extreme MAGA Republicans.
Because MAGA just doesn't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'll do people a favor. I'm not going to blame Democrats on this, but even though some of them supported the rush for profits that has led to the burdening certain airports about this. But the truth is,
okay, I checked that off.
In society, we are not investing in the right things. We should be investing more in schools, in air traffic, in the safety stuff. But the problem is that means less money for profiteer speculators like Elon Musk and all of his friends to play with and to make more riches, making money with money and not doing any work. But here's a piece in American history: the PATCO strike and the decline of labor. This is in American History Journal in 2021.
Me either. That's why I'm trying to go to Canada in a few years if this crap lets me. I can't do it faster than 3 years, but I'm not flying anywhere else. I'd move to Australia. I'm going to say this in a TOS-friendly way. These billionaires forget what has happened to the aristocracy in the past when people get too hungry. Yeah, exactly. On the plus side, we wanted to get traffic to die for the Green New Deal.
In 1981, President Reagan decisively broke the strike in Federal Aviation Administration's air traffic controllers, which had been organized by their union. Because of this timing, its notoriety, and its impact in encouraging private sector employers to follow Reagan's example and break strikes, the PATCO debacle contributed significantly to the continuing decline of the labor movement through the decades following 1981. The breaking of PATCO took place at the crucial inflection point of U.S. labor. The walkout, which started on October 3rd, 1981, took place in every U.S. state and territory, and Americans watched it play out in real time on live television. They saw President Reagan warn strikers that since they were government workers, their walkout was illegal, issuing an ultimatum that they would be fired in 48 hours if they did not return to work. Then they saw President Reagan fire more than 11,000 strikers who defied his order, replacing them with military contractors and hastily trained substitutes, all with strong public backing. And I would say this is just a continuation of that. Whereas Reagan went after them, and both of the impetus is the exact same.
Carpet Packs, welcome. When do I get to use my pitchfork? Pretty soon, Elon's gutting the government. Bread and circuses only hold off the people for too long. In a video game, of course, Trump wants to both be Hitler and Reagan. Yep. That's a fair assessment.
The safety and the power of labor is secondary to the money, freeing up money for profiteer parasites to play with.
All we have to do is flood the zone. Every day we hit them with three things. They'll bite on one and we'll get all of our stuff done. Bang, bang, bang. These guys will never be able to recover.
That's Steve Bannon spelling out the strategy. Overwhelm Americans with news so Trump can quietly push his real agenda. This is the shock doctrine in action, and it's happening right now. Trump is flooding the news cycle with executive...
Yep. Where Republicans and right-wingers losing their minds at the fact that Elon is an African immigrant who came into the country through Canada and is now controlling the White House. Yeah, I mean, like, it doesn't matter. Like, there's no, like, you can't reason or ration rationale any of this because nothing. They didn't they didn't logic themselves into this. So yeah. You saw Trump is calling for the white South Africans to get refugee status in the United States. Yeah. But when it's Latinos, though, yeah. So like, we can really tell like what this is. What this is about. Like, this is just like straight up like white supremacy. That's it. All right, folks, we got a couple of headlines to go through. Governor Hochul set to announce guardrails around Eric Adams. Just to be clear, she has the power to remove Eric Adams. Like, there's literally no reason to keep this guy in power, like, at all. This is actually pretty asinine. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is planning to announce guardrails on Thursday today, hemming in Mayor Adams in light of his alliance with President Trump and Trump's leverage over Adams. 3 people familiar with the matter told Politico. Hochul is set to unveil proposals to strengthen and expand oversight of city government as she faces pressure to remove Adams from office, according to a person familiar. She will empower the state inspector general by adding a deputy for city affairs. I mean, like, why are we even like, why is this even like a thing? Why is this even, this is like extra steps. This is extra steps, like remove the problem. This guy's corrupt. Trump played Adams like a cheap guitar. In my honest opinion, we're heading for a global economic collapse. The wound is fatal. Turn to community and family and strengthen your situation. Oh, I don't discourage that for sure. The reason is that there's an election this year, but it's not a good reason. Yeah, I mean, like, I would argue that it's actually, I would say it would probably strengthen your position, right? Like, is there like an election for the governor? Hold on. Because if there's an election, if she's up for re-election, then like, I don't know, maybe I'm just bad at politics, but like taking a strong position on corruption sounds like it would be beneficial. She also intends to add protections for the City Department of Investigation Commissioner to prevent Adams from removing that person. His predecessor, Mayor Bill de Blasio, fired his DOI commissioner amid a power struggle. The Democratic governor also wants to empower the City Council, City Comptroller, and public advocate to litigate issues related to federal affairs. And the governor will call for more money for the State Comptroller, Ton Di Napoli, to expand the city oversight operation. Some of the changes will require action by the state legislature and city council. The moves essentially amount to more independent state and city watchdogs over Adams amid his ongoing political and legal crises. They also mark a major turn in the relationship between the two moderate Democrats. Hochul opted not to oust Adams after federal prosecutors indicted him in September on bribery charges, instead forcing him to oust scandal-scarred aides. I mean, like, you know, that should have been the end of it, to be honest. Like, the fact that, like, they had enough evidence on him to indict him on federal corruption charges or bribery charges, Like, that should have been the end of that story. But, okay. Hochul isn't that concerned with corruption. She just doesn't like the Adams-Trump bromance. It's acting almost as a second governorship against her initiatives. I mean, that's fair, but just remove him, right? It looks good. All around, in my opinion. It's a win-win. It's a win-win. Like, look, I'm breaking off this bromance between compromised mayor and now I get to be, standing on the side of like anti-corruption. Right, it's a win-win. Bro, Adams should have been locked up 3 years ago. Agreed. I can't believe all those federal prosecutors were corrupt. See how deep it runs. Feds don't bring charges unless they got a slam dunk. Exactly. So, yeah, that should have been the end of that story. Hochul opted not to oust Adams after federal prosecutors indicted him in September on bribery charges, instead forcing him to oust scandal-scarred aides. She has stood by him since, and as politicians across the city have distanced themselves from him. Like, I mean, that kind of tells you, like, all you need to know. Trump's Department of Justice dropped its charges against Adams February 10th in a deal involving the expectation that he will assist with the White House in its mass deportation plan. Another way of putting it is that he agreed to a quid pro quo. Are you prepared for the Chinese era of prosperity? Well, it doesn't really matter if we're prepared or not, right? Hochul's plan to propose oversight measures was first reported by NY1. City Hall did not immediately comment. On Tuesday, Hochul posted a parade of prominent officials in her Midtown Manhattan office to discuss the mayor's future. While not calling Adams to step down, Hochul has pointedly not ruled out seeking his removal from office. Last week, Adams met with Trump border czar Heinrich Himmler. At the sit-down, they agreed that the city would reopen a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility on Rikers Island. Fantastic. Shortly afterwards, Heinrich Himmler insulted the governor and issued veiled threats to a stone-faced Adams as they sat side by side for a Fox and Friends interview. Jesus Christ. I would have removed him just on that, honestly. Especially now that Kash Patel is the head of the FBI. They gave the U.S. many chances for bilateral and mutual development, but the U.S. cannot deal with the fact that their loss as a unipolar power. Yeah, I mean, sure. It's Germany anyways. That's where the brain dead is headed. The brain drain is headed. Speaking of, a couple of you have brought this up. The Senate has confirmed Kash Patel, a fierce critic of the FBI. That's one way of putting it. The Republican-led Senate voted on Thursday today to confirm Kash Patel as the new FBI director, despite questions about whether he has the qualifications and the temperament to lead the nation's most powerful law enforcement agency. Patel, a close ally of the president and a fierce critic of the FBI, was confirmed by 51 to 49, with Republican Senators Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski joining all Democrats in opposing him. It caps a remarkable rise for Patel, who's worked as a public defender, a federal prosecutor, and congressional aide before serving as a national security official in Trump's first term. Germany is racist, never denazified. He later emerged as a fixture in MAGA World, a right-wing podcast regular, and a Trump loyalist. Republicans welcomed this confirmation. They argued that the FBI has unfairly targeted conservatives. No evidence for this. In recent years, and they see Patel as someone who will fix that purported problem. And by fixing it, they mean they will go after their political opponents. Yeah, we have Nazis here, so yeah. Kash is the right man to clean the FBI, to restore Americans' confidence and trust that the FBI is not a political organization. It's a law enforcement organization. Sure, Lindsey Graham. Sure. It's science-friendly and easier to move for academia. Europe in general is still racist AF, they just act more subtle about it. We have Nazis here too. Yep. Republicans pushed Patel's nomination over the line in the face of fierce opposition from Democrats who voiced concern about Patel's fitness for the job and his ability or even desire to maintain the FBI's traditional independence at the White House. Concerns about Patel's ability to lead the FBI reflected in a narrow margin of his confirmation vote. His three immediate predecessors, Christopher Wray, James Comey, and Robert Mueller, all received at least 92 votes. On Thursday morning, Democrats on the Senate Judiciary Committee gathered in front of the FBI headquarters to speak out against Patel. Mr. Patel will be a political and national security disaster if confirmed, said Senator Dick Durbin, the panel's top Democrat. I'm convinced that he has neither the experience, the judgment, nor the temperament to lead the FBI. My Senate Republican colleagues are willfully ignoring the myriad of red flags about Mr. Patel, especially his recurring instinct to threaten retribution against his perceived enemies. This is an extremely dangerous flaw for someone who seeks to lead the nation's most powerful domestic investigative agency for the next 10 years. Neither of Patel's immediate predecessors served out the job's full 10-year term. Trump fired then-Director James Comey in 2017 and handpicked Christopher Wray to replace him. After Trump's electoral win in November, he tapped Patel to lead the FBI, effectively pushing Wray out of the job. Cool. Europeans east of Germany are all predisposed to racism due to their closer connection to their... Okay, I don't know what you're talking about, but okay. Unlike those two men, Patel has no experience as a senior law enforcement official. It has fueled questions about his qualifications to lead the FBI. His qualifications are that he is a Trump toady. But the push, and incidentally, like, despite what anyone wants to pretend or push, another big qualification is that he is willing to be open to going after political opponents. What's Patel's professional past? He was like a lawyer, ? He was a public defender, a federal prosecutor, and a congressional aide. Patel wears Trump's favorite lipstick. Yeah. But the pushback to his nomination has centered more around his loyalty to Trump and his past statements about rooting out what he calls the, quote, deep state, after going after his and Trump's perceived political enemies, including at the FBI. Right. So that's pretty much it. Hello, mercenaries of God. I don't know who you're talking to, but I'm barking up the wrong tree. A lawyer with no law enforcement experience, head of the FBI. Yep. But, of course, the important part is that he is a extreme loyalist to Trump. So that's all that really matters. That's the only like sufficient qualification here. That's about it. In one podcast appearance, Patel vowed to shut the FBI headquarters on day one and reopen it as a, quote, museum of the deep state. At his confirmation hearing, Patel sought to deflect questions about his past comments, telling lawmakers any accusation leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. Nah, go F yourself. Yeah, it's like a wrestling promoter heading the Department of Education. Yeah. We wouldn't do that now, would we? We got some interesting folks in here tonight. Yeah. What's your view on technocracies? Because one of the promises of technocracies is removing power from presidents to appoint whoever they want in high positions. I would just be very cautious about technocracies. I'm not sure who determines that, because don't we already have ways of kind of doing that, like presumably within the administrative state and how we have things now, which is what Trump is trying to dismantle. We kind of have that, don't we? I'm apprehensive about technocracies too, but Jesus effing Christ, Trump is looking like a king. Not looking like, he's trying to be. This is what winning looks like. Sure. If winning means the impending fascist dystopia, sure. Patel takes over at the FBI in a tumultuous time for the Bureau. In the past few weeks, the new leadership of the Justice Department has pushed out at least 8 senior FBI officials and obtained a list of all FBI personnel involved in the investigation of the January 6th insurrection at the Capitol, a probe the Trump administration has criticized. I think you don't realize Democrats didn't win the presidency or the Senate or the House. No, I'm well aware of that. That's literally why I'm calling it a fascist dystopia. If you say anything else, I'm just going to ban you. I wouldn't be surprised if JD Vance is forced to remove Trump via the 25th amendment. It hasn't been what winning looks like previously. You're going to have to elaborate on that one. Like, if you think that this is anything else other than like a authoritarian takeover, like, I'm not debating this. I'm not debating what I'm seeing in front of my eyes. That has touched off fears that the Bureau's possible mass firings for retaliatory reasons. The FBI Agents Association, which represents ban me then. Isn't that what the Nazis did? Nope. Fuck you. The real Nazis are literally the Republican Party. They're literally like a modern Nazi party. So nope. Go fuck yourself. Like, literally, the head of the Republican Party is has let a unelected oligarch into the White House who literally Sieg Heiled, okay, in the inauguration, in the presidential inauguration. So no. We all saw it. Okay, we all saw him do the Sieg Heil, and that person is right now the shadow de facto president. That person was invited to make that speech at the inauguration because Trump knows who this person is. Trump has also had dinners with literal neo-Nazis. So no, like, please, I'm not here to be gaslit. I'm very well aware of what I see, and I'm not going to be gaslit to be told that what I'm seeing is not real. So yeah, you can go fuck yourself. Fuck off. Twatsies. Look at me violating my own rule of trying not to curse that much. Anyone else? Because, like, this makes it just so much easier. Anyone else? Because, like, hey, Mouselander. It makes it just so much easier. Godwin's Law in 3 messages. Isn't that what the Nazis did? Yep, I'm pretty sure Nazis were going around banning people from Twitch. Yeah. Oh, look, thank you. Our Lord Jesus Christ acted with his will to turn away the bold for Trump's head, our God-chosen divine leader of America. Nope, fuck that guy. Fuck that fascist freak. And fuck you too. As the new leadership team considers the implements reform measures, the FBIA stands ready to serve as a valuable resource, ensuring that the special agents can continue safeguarding the American people from emerging threats while upholding the Constitution. Jeez, man. Like, anyone else? I mean, like, seriously, it just makes life much easier if you just come out and do your thing so we can just, like, ban you real quick. Because, like, it makes my life easier. It really does. Like, if you just want to come out and just say what you need to say, so we can just quickly ban you, then, like, yeah. It just makes it easier for everyone, you know? You're not going to change any of views or your fellow countrymen's opinion by banning them. I realize it may be difficult to ascertain who's discussing in good faith and who's trolling. Yeah, I'm not here to sift through that. That's not my job. I'm sorry. I'm not here to change people's minds who don't want to change. Like that's not my job. I'm sorry. Look, maybe in a different time, okay? If you would have told me this like 5 years ago, maybe if you would have told me this like 10 years ago, okay? I would have told you that I would have agreed with you, and I would have put more effort into actually trying to change like some of these people's minds. But like this is not the time for that. It really isn't. Those who want to leave the political cult, that is Trump, that is MAGA, they will leave and they will make that decision. And if they do, then people should provide them an off-ramp. If they do honestly want to leave the cult, then people should provide an off-ramp. But those that don't, like, there's literally no point in discussing with those people, because those people are not living in reality, okay? Those people are, like, they're living in a literal alternate universe, okay? That is fabricated by their own delusions, and I'm not here to argue with that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Read and Rap brings also up a good point, the paradox of intolerance. Like, you just can't tolerate like these freaks, especially like, it doesn't matter. I'm not here to be like, oh, are you trying to engage in good faith? Like, are you a good faith MAGA? Okay. Anything you say, they'll respond with a thought-terminating cliche. Right. So, yeah, like, I'm not here. Why do concern trolls always act like it's a streamer's first day? They need intense deprogramming. Yeah, and, like, that's not going to happen if they don't want to make that first move of, like, wanting to leave the cult, right? Like, just to be clear, like, if these people don't want to leave the cult, it's not happening. So, fuck those people. However, if there are MAGA people that want to leave the cult, okay, then an off-ramp should be provided. Okay? But I'm not going to argue with these people. Only about 77 million of 340 voted for Trump. That is less than 23% of the country. And yet all of those people fucked us. Okay? And all of those people fucked us. A lot of people are just going along. And they screwed us. It doesn't matter. They did it. Okay? They pushed the fascism button, and that's, you know, this yeah, let's survive these 4 years. Only 180 million are eligible to vote. If everyone who voted for Biden would have voted for Harris, Trump would have lost. A lot of the votes were liberal and classic Democrats voting against Kamala. But like, maybe if the Democratic, like, you know, take away like the names, but maybe if the Democratic Party would have actually taken this seriously and ran a proper campaign, then like maybe they would have like won, you know? Maybe if the Democratic Party would have actually like ran a campaign, and ran an actual like good campaign, they would have won. Like it's actually like embarrassing that they lost to Trump twice. And that's not like that's a failure of the Democratic Party. To lose to Trump twice is a freaking embarrassment. Yeah, F around and find out. Yeah, and we're all finding out together. Whether we wanted to or not. Whether we F'd around or not, we're all finding out. It's just like one big blob like this. Kamala Harris campaigned with Liz fucking Cheney. Yep. It's deeply troubling times. Yep. I mean, can't say it any more than that. Senator Mitch McConnell won't seek re-election in 2026, ending his long tenure as Republican power broker. And as we go on, we remember all the times you've screwed us over. Okay. Mitch McConnell announced on Thursday that he won't seek re-election next year, ending decades-long tenure as a power broker who championed conservative causes, but ultimately ceded ground to the fierce fascism, because that's literally that's literally where this ideology leads. Thanks. His Horcrux is disintegrating. McConnell, longest-serving Senate party leader in U.S. history, chose his 83rd birthday to share his decision to not run for another term in Kentucky and to retire after he's irreversibly fucked this country over. He informed the AP of his decision before he addressed colleagues in a speech on the Senate floor. Mitch is retiring. He is. Not that it matters, but I guess there's some catharsicism just having him gone. But like he did his job. 7 times my fellow Kentuckians have sent me to the Senate. Cool. As aides lined the back of the chamber, senators listen from the seats every day in between. I'm humbled by the trust they've placed me into and to do their business right here, which is destroy this country. Representing our Commonwealth has been the honor of a lifetime. Representing the capital class, really, I will not seek this honor in a time. My current term in the Senate will be my last. His announcement begins the epilogue of his storied career as a master strategist, one which he helped forge the fascistic movement, cemented by the Supreme Court, that has culminated into what we're seeing now, and steered the Senate through tax cuts for the rich, presidential impeachment trials, which he abdicated his job to rally against a clear danger that was literally in front of them. They literally said that they were not going to listen to any evidence in these impeachment trials. That's him. And fierce political fights. Yet with his powerful perch atop committees and nearly 2 years remaining in his term, McConnell vowed to complete his work on several remaining fronts. I have some unfinished business to attend to. McConnell walked gingerly to the podium, sporting a walking boot. Senators from both sides of the political aisle seemed to listen most intently as he told them that while there are any number of reasons for pessimism, the strength of the Senate is not one of them. Yeah, perched like an evil bird, a turtle bird. The Senate is still equipped for work of great consequence, like perhaps doing its job and removing a threat. As he concluded, Senator Tom Tillis motioned for the audience of senators, staff, Capitol visitors to be allowed to applaud, which is usually not allowed under Senate rules. Republican senators lined up to greet McConnell, beginning with Susan Collins of Maine, who hugged them. Senator Lisa Murkowski. Like, I just can't, like, I don't know how, like, it's just disgusting. Like, I couldn't even be in the same vicinity with someone like this guy. But, okay. Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, said McConnell reshaped the American judiciary, particularly the Supreme Court. He did. He did. And he screwed us all over. He has a lot to be proud of if you're a fascist, and I'm sure he will work hard to the very end of his term for the fascist movement. McConnell, first elected in 1984, before I was born, intends to serve until his term of January 2027. The Kentuckian has dealt with a series of medical episodes in recent years, including injuries sustained from falls and times when he literally had, like, I don't know, a loading screen on. If Doge was serious, they'd be looking at why paying senators $174K a year to not do their jobs. Like, honestly, like, that's not even, like, the biggest issue that I have, honestly. It's the fact that there's, like, so much unlimited freaking money sloshing around in politics because of, you know, Citizens United. Like, that's not even, like, you know, that's kind of, like, on the lower rung of things that I'm I'm concerned about. Like, if Doge, like, was serious, like, if Doge was actually serious, like, where are the auditors? Where are the actual forensic accountants? Why are we getting, like, 25-year-old Nazi edgelord who obviously are not trained in, like, the way those systems work, let alone accounting, to really go and take a look at this to find the real waste and fraud and abuse that they claim they're looking for. Like, this whole thing is a farce. It's a farce from the beginning. I agree with you, Bipedal Meatbag. This is wild. Trump fired the auditors. Right. Like, so this is not about finding waste, fraud, and abuse or whatever. It's just McConnell, the famously taciturn McConnell, revered at the Senate as a young intern long before joining its backbenches as a freshman lawmaker in the mid-'80s. His dramatic announcement comes almost after a year's decision to relinquish his leadership post after the November 2024 election. McConnell's looming departure reflects the changing dynamic of the Trump-led GOP. He's seen his power diminish on a parallel track with both his health and relationship to Trump. He once praised him as an ally, but he has taken to criticizing him in caustic terms. In Kentucky, McConnell's departure will mark the loss of a powerful advocate and will set off a competitive GOP primary next year, which will now be an open seat. Kentucky Democratic Governor Andy Beshear, seen as a rising star in his party for winning statewide office in a Republican territory, said he has no interest in the Senate. Beshear's chief political strategist Eric Hires reiterated that stance, posting he's not running for Senate. Beshear is widely seen as a potential candidate for the White House in 2028. Kentucky Republicans considering the race for McConnell's seat quickly weighed in there with reaction. Representative Andy Barr said he would make the decision about his future. Former State Attorney General Daniel Cameron seemed to tip his hand, posting on Twitter, "Kentucky, it's time for a new generation of leadership." Point is, he's not running anymore, and he's done. Probably because he's outlived his usefulness to the fascist movement. That's it. He did his job, right? Like, he cemented the supermajority of the Supreme Court, and appointed a judiciary that would provide the avenues that led to where we are now. He's been instrumental, right, in protecting Trump when he could have been removed. He's basically outlived his usefulness to the fascist movement. It's done. He doesn't need to do any more. Whatever they needed from him, they got, specifically with the judiciary. But yeah. All right, folks, it's time for me to get out of here and get some food. Thank you all for joining in. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here, folks. It really does help us out here. If you want to support the channel, folks, keep liking the stream on YouTube, subscribe, spread the word. We're here Monday through Thursday. And also, thanks for the stream. No, thank you for being here. If you want to support the channel directly, consider checking out the merch store and hitting that !! Tip. Also, join the Discord, folks. It's probably the best way to keep up with the channel. And subscribe to the YouTubes, folks. If you're on the YouTube, keep spreading, liking, sharing, doing all the stuff. If you're here on Twitch and you haven't hit the follow button, please consider doing that. Thank you to all of you who have supported the channel. Thank you to Craftus for the tier 1 sub. Thank you, Mayworm, for the follow, and consequently the tier 1 sub and the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the support. You guys are what makes this channel go, folks. Thank you so much. Mouselander, thank you. And to the YouTube crew who are there, Moanep, Soul Life, Mouselander, there's somebody else I forget. Thank you guys for being there. For the YouTube crew, keep it up, and keep being there. I appreciate it. As always, folks, we'll be back on Monday, folks. Again, spread the word. We'll be here Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. Moanep, yes. I'm a MAGA? Yeah, well, if you want to leave the cult, you can, but you probably should not be a MAGA. Change my mind? Nope, you got to do that yourself. Bye. If fascism doesn't do it for you, then like, I don't know what to tell you, man. We have literally nothing to discuss. If the destruction of whatever like democratic means don't do it for you, an unelected billionaire just like screwing you out of your benefits, out of your freaking tax dollars, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I'm not here like to do that. Folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.